Greetings, fellow carbon-based bipeds. I am Scott Rose, and you are watching Explosions and Stuff. Today, I'll be reviewing Sinister Squad, which will be released on July 5th, 2016, starring Johnny Ray Diaz, Christina Lachardi, Lindsay Sawyer, and Isaac Reyes. An overview of the movie: a supernatural cult plans to take over the world with the help of Rumpelstiltskin. Now it's up to Alice and her team of fairytale misfits to stop the literal soldiers of Death himself. Will they be able to work together and fight off Death's minions, or will their ranks crumble and fall prey to their own inner turmoil? The pros of this movie? Well, first of all, this movie had really good practical effects. Most of the effects in this movie were practical, and they did a fantastic job with them. All of the wounds, all of the blood, it was just gorgeous and fantastic, and they did a great job making this blood look realistic for the budget that they had and their practical makeup with the witch's character. It was fantastic. I loved it. Also, I'm going to apologize in advance because I'm most likely going to butcher your name. I'm sorry. The guy who played Death, I think his name is Nick Principe or something like that. I probably butchered that, and I'm sorry. But he did a fantastic job with his role as Death. It was fantastic and beautiful and glorious. It made him feel like a real person that you might actually meet, and not this ultimate evil overlord, oppressive evil dude. No, he didn't feel like that. He didn't feel over the top or just pure evil and one-dimensional. He felt like somebody you might actually meet and know on the side of the road, or one of your friends or something. He felt like a real person, which is fantastic. I love that. That's not something I've really seen done with the character of Death before. Also, something I never thought I would say about an Asylum picture, because the Sinister Squad was made by the Asylum, they had good digital effects. I never thought I'd say that. Usually the Asylum's known for their really bad digital effects, like they just threw it together in a weekend. I mean, yeah, these aren't top shelf or digital effects, but they aren't the lower stuff that they're typically known for. These are nice, middle of the road. They look realistic. They fit in with the movie. Normally, when I'm watching an Asylum movie, I'm pointing and laughing at the bad digital effects, but I didn't even do that once in this movie. I was halfway through it. I was like, wow, I haven't seen a bad digital effect yet. This is pretty good. I'm enjoying it. The cons of this movie? Well, first of all, I gotta put this out here now. This movie is clearly a ripoff of the Suicide Squad, the DC movie that's getting made. There's no way to deny that. It's obvious. Just look at the trailer. You can tell. It's a blatant ripoff of the Suicide Squad. They're probably going to twist it off in some way. Say, oh, they just want to see a team of bad guys fighting against evil. You know, they're probably going to twist it around some way. But this is clearly a ripoff, clearly a mockbuster, and that's definitely going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. Another thing I didn't like was most prominent with the character of Rumpelstiltskin, that they had silly sound effects, like whenever he blinked or he smiled, it had this cartoonish sound, and it's like, no, that doesn't add anything to the character. That's just being silly for the sake of being silly. You don't need that nonsense. Just have him act straight. I get it, he's kind of goofy, kind of silly, kind of weird, you don't know what's going to go on. He's a fairy tale creature. Woo! I get it. But he doesn't need his own soundtrack. He doesn't need to have like sound effects going on when he blinks or when he smiles or when he waves his hands. And he doesn't need sound effects. Nobody has sound effects. This movie takes place in the real world. Not in the fantasy fairy tale world. In the real world. Nobody has personalized sound effects for when they do stuff, unless they're idiots and make them on their own. I don't know. But nobody has sound effects. Get rid of that nonsense. It just took me out of the movie. Made me realize, hey, I'm actually watching a movie. You know, it destroyed the suspension of disbelief for those moments. Also, I don't think the person who was playing Alice knew what the character was supposed to be like. I don't know, I'm not an expert, but it seemed like she didn't. Sometimes she'd be nice and cheerful and sinister and, manipulative, and other times she'd be like, do, I want tea and let's tell riddles and jokes and have fun. Ooh. It's like she was playing two different characters throughout the movie, and a lot of the acting in this movie was over the top. She was probably the biggest culprit, Rumpelstiltskin a little bit too, but mostly Alice. She was the biggest culprit of the overacting in this movie. The best action scene in the movie? That would have to be the big bad wolf versus Bluebeard. Now, I'll be honest, before this movie, I had never heard of Bluebeard. I have no idea who he is. But the two of them were fighting, and Bluebeard's got his knives, and he's cutting stuff up with his knives, and the big bad wolf is being all big bad wolfy and just going to town, clawing stuff and throwing it and biting. And it's not a very long fight scene. It's not very long, and they cut away from it a bit, but it's still the best action scene in the movie. They're sitting there brawling and punching and kicking and biting and scratching and stabbing and cutting and stuff, and it's just fantastic. Easily the best action scene in this movie. My overall thoughts on the movie? Well, when I first saw the trailer, I thought this movie would be mediocre at best. Then I started watching it, and for the first 15 to 20 minutes, it felt like a gimmicky cash grab. Then I watched more, and I started to like the movie. I give this movie one thumb up. It's not a masterpiece. There are evident flaws, and people are probably going to be turned off by the storybook characters. That being said, the Asylum really stepped up their production quality on this, and it shows. I lost faith in big budget studios long ago, and I would much rather watch something like the Sinister Squad. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like it and subscribe to my channel for new action movie reviews posted every week. Also, if you have any recommendations for movies you would like me to review in the future, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you and have a nice day.